Good morning. We are still in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It is very interesting that from the 54th chapter of the second chapter, Arjuna is asking Krishna something which is very special. What is it? He is asking that what are the characteristics of a God realized soul who is stable in mind and established in samadhi? How does the man of stable mind speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? See, we all are looking for people who are enlightened. We would like to know, how does a enlightened person behave? How does he eat? How does he look? So it's very interesting that in India, we always say that the master is enlightened, and then we go to his presence and we feel happy the way he is behaving with us and the way the master is teaching. So the Arjuna is asking, Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitidi kim prabhashet kim asit vrajet kim. So we all are curious about to know about this kind of personality who is enlightened, who is in samadhi. How does he speak? How does he walk? How does he sit? This kind of inquiry is common. And we always hear that the rishis were enlightened masters. So there is more curiosity. How did they live their life? What did they do? So Krishna says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmannevatmana tushtaha Sthita prajnastos uchyate. So here, now, Sri Krishna is answering to Arjuna that this kind of enlightened person who is in that kind of samadhi has no more cravings of the mind. For a normal person, he or she cannot sit even for a minute. There are hundreds of thoughts coming. One is distracted towards the external world, and one feels that why I am thinking too many things at the same time. But this is how the mind is for a common person. But for a rishi, for the person who is in samadhi, he casts off all the cravings of the mind, and at the same time is satisfied in the self through the joy of the self. We will find these masters, these rishis, sitting quietly. There is a kind of peace. The countenance on the face is also very peaceful. When you look at the person's eyes, you can feel the tranquility in him, how gentle he or she may be, and how in a perfect state of well-being they are. It's very interesting. And at the same time, these kind of people are satisfied in the self through the joy of the self. That means they always find joy within oneself. Normally, we are trying to find joy in the outside world. We are finding joy in the food. We are finding joy when talking to people. We are trying to find joy when we go in the park. We are trying to find joy in the outside world always. But here we find that this person is stable in mind. There is a stability to this person. It is like the stillness of the lake. It is completely still. There is no more kind of waveringness. There is complete peace, tranquility in this person. Dukkheshvanu vigmanaha sukheshu vigatasprihaha Bhitaraga bhayakrodaha sitirdir muniruchyate. The sage whose mind remains unperturbed amid sorrows. That means these sages or rishis are not disturbed by the external world, by the emotional world around. They are very still. Whose thirst for pleasure has altogether disappeared. The saint has no more wanting for pleasure. There is no more thirst for the sense organ, sensual pleasures, we can say. And at the same time, who is free from passion. See, passion, when we are speaking about it, is always connected to the future. And most of us are like futuristic people. What will I do in the future? How will I live? What can I accumulate for the future? But for a yogi or the person who is in samadhi, first thing is that whose thirst for the pleasure has altogether disappeared and who is free from passion, fear and anger. There is no more fear towards the world. It is like the Buddha, when told that there is a dacoit in the forest, his name is Angulimala, he was cutting the fingers of the people whom he used to cut, and he had made a necklace, a mala out of this fingers. And people were afraid of Angulimala and told Buddha that please don't go towards that forest because this cruel Angulimala is there. Buddha said that I don't have fear towards Angulimala. Let me go and see him in person. And Buddha walked towards Angulimala. And then Angulimala said, stop there. Buddha stopped there in a gentle way and said, I have already stopped. It is you who have to stop. And he got more anger. And he said that I'm going to kill you. Buddha said, if you want to kill me, you can kill me. But I will ask you one thing. You see this big tree? You please cut one of the branches of this tree. He said, it is very easy for me to cut the branch of this tree. So the Angulimala cut the branch of the tree. Now Buddha said, now again join the branch of the tree to the same tree. And Angulimala said, how can I do that? It is impossible. Then Buddha said, if you are not able to join the branch to the tree, how can you cut the fingers of the people if you are not able to join back to them? And that was like a realization for Angulimala. He became a disciple of Buddha. This is one of the stories. Then, Yaha sarvatrana abhisnehas tasya tat prapya shubhashubham nami nandanti na dveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. This person, he is not attached to anyone or anything, and meeting with good and evil neither rejoices nor recoils, his mind is stable. So that means this kind of person, he is not attached to anyone or anything. And this is true for an enlightened person. That doesn't mean that the enlightened person doesn't have empathy. He is full of compassion for the whole world, for the whole humanity, but at the same time doesn't have any kind of attachment towards anyone or any kind of object. And maybe there is an evil which is happening, or there is something good happening to this person. There is no more change in this person. Sometimes we see that when the sadhu is traveling in a train, people look very lowly towards the sadhu and say, "Hey, get down from the train. You don't have tickets." And the sadhu with his kindness looks and he just walks away without saying anything. And sometimes we see that the presence of the sadhu is such that he or she, while sitting, is unmoved by whatever is happening around, neither rejoices nor recoils. His mind is stable. There is no much excessive happiness or sadness for a person who is sita prajna, who has that state of samadhi. One is in a state of complete equality or in a state of tranquility. Yada samharate chayam kurma angani vasarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya prajna pratishtita. Now, sometimes we use some examples to state how a yogi is. So, for us to understand it easily, we have the example of the turtle or the tortoise. See, when the turtle sees something coming towards it, what does it do? It withdraws its limbs from all direction and is safe. Similarly, naturally for a yogi, there is the sense withdrawal from the sense objects and his mind becomes steady. He is in a state of balance. So this state is the state in which a yogi remains in stillness. It is like the tortoise withdrawing its sense organs from the sensual objects. So this is an example which is very true and easily able to understand that a yogi naturally withdraws the sense organs and is not affected by the world. Vishya vinirvartate niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopasya param drishtva nivartate. Sense objects turn away from him. So that means naturally for a yogi, the sense objects do not affect him, who does not enjoy them with his senses. But the taste for them persists. So that means a yogi also is seeing, a yogi is also hearing, a yogi is also smelling, yogi is also tasting, he or she is also touching. But what is the speciality of this yogi? The sense organs are under complete control. This relish also disappears in the case of the man of stable mind when he realizes the Supreme. For a yogi of the highest state of bliss, there is no more affection from anything whatsoever. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathathini haranti prasabam manaha. Turbulent by nature, the senses even of a wise man who is practicing self-control forcibly carry away his mind, Arjuna. Krishna is saying, sometimes even for a wise person, because of the turbulence of the nature, what happens? Even that person who is practicing this self-control, sometimes the mind forcibly takes him to a different direction. So therefore, O Arjuna, be conscious about your sense organs. Be conscious about your mind. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asit matparaha vashehi yasindriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Therefore, having controlled all the senses and concentrating his mind, he should sit for meditation, devoting himself heart and soul to me, for he whose senses are under his control is known to have a stable mind. So what is the beauty is that when the sense organs are under control, the mind also is completely under a state of meditation. And this person is devoting himself heart and soul to whom? To that Supreme, for whose senses are under his control is known to have stable mind. So in this state, what we see, we have the examples of the great seers like Ramana Maharshi, we have Narayana Guru, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Guru Nanak, we have Tulsi Das, Kabir Das, and also many other yogis and saints who had complete control over the sense organs. And naturally they could sit in meditation. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangaste shupajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate. So now for a normal person, because in the society what we see, that it is easy for the person to be distracted by what? Sensuality. The person who is dwelling on sense object, what? Develops attachment for them. Yes, there is an attachment which develops when one is dwelling on the sensuality or the sense objects. And what will happen if there is this kind of attachment? From this attachment springs up desire. And from the desire, unfulfilled ensures anger. So this person, when the desire is not fulfilled, what will happen? From this attachment springs desire, and from this desire, what happens? One is angry for small things. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bramshat buddhinashaha, buddhinashat pranashyati. So from anger arises delusion, and from delusion, confusion of memory, and from confusion of memory, loss of reason, and from loss of reason, one goes to complete ruin. So we have seen this, that when one is really angry, he shouts or she shouts and uses words, abuses, and there is kind of a delusion. And when there is delusion, confusion of memory, this person will not have a proper memory. And from confusion of memory, loss of reason, there is no more reasoning, they may kill another person. And from the loss of reason, one goes to complete ruin. Raga dvesha vyuktastu vishendriyascharan atma vasher vider atma prasadamati gacchati. But the self-controlled sadhaka, while enjoying the various sense objects through his senses, which are disciplined and free from likes and dislikes, attains placidity of mind. So it is said that even when one is working in the office, if this person has a self-control, what will happen? This person is also eating with his colleagues, he is also drinking coffee, but he has disciplined it in such a way that this person is free from likes and dislikes, and that makes him very special because his mind becomes very still. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hani rasapojayate prasanna chedaso hyashu buddhi paravatishtate. With the attainment of such placidity of mind, all his sorrows come to an end, and the intellect of such a person of tranquil mind, soon withdrawing itself from all sides, becomes firmly established in mind. It is said about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, sometimes when he used to sing for the goddess Kali, he was in a kind of trance. He used to forget everything, and he is completely one with the God. And he used to sometimes fall down and be in that unconscious state. Sometimes singing bhajans, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to dance, and he used to dance for hours and hours and hours without knowing that he is in that state of dance, completely merged in that oneness with the God. Nasti buddhir yuktasya na chaya yuktasya bhavana na cha bhavyata shantihi shantasya kutas sukham. He who has not controlled his mind and senses can have no determinate intellect nor contemplation. Without contemplation, he can have no peace. And how can there be happiness for one lacking peace of mind? So that is why many people say, my mind is not steady, I am not able to think, I am not happy with my life. Why? Because without contemplation, he or she has no peace. And how can there be happiness for one lacking peace of mind? So what is that which is required for each one of us is to have what? Peace of mind. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nuvidiyate tadasya harati prajnam vayurnama vi vambhasi. As the wind carries away a boat upon the waters, even so of the senses moving among sense objects, the one to which the mind is attached takes away his discrimination. So therefore what happens? Sometimes wind comes and takes away the boat. If you do not tie the boat to the pillar or something, what will happen? The boat is carried away by the force of the wind. Similarly, if the sense organs are not under control, it is taken away, and this person will not have proper discrimination. Tasmadasya mahabaho nigrihtani sarvasha indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya prajna pratishtita. Therefore, Arjuna, he whose senses are completely restrained from their objects is said to have a stable mind. So we can see a yogi sitting under a tree. He is not disturbed by the outside world. There is no more pleasure seeking. One is completely still. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato mune. That which is night to all beings, in that state of divine knowledge and supreme bliss, the God-realized yogis keep awake, and that the ever-changing transient worldly happiness in which all beings keep awake is night to the seer. So we can understand by this that for a yogi, for a rishi, He is always in that state of divine knowledge and supreme bliss. That is the state of a God realized yogi who keeps himself awake. He or she doesn't want to slip from that state of godliness. But for a person who is in the world, there is this ever changing world, transient worldly happiness in which all beings keep awake. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudramaf pravishanti yadvad tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti apnoti nakama kami. As the waters of the different rivers enter the ocean, which though full on all sides remain undisturbed, likewise he in whom all enjoyments merge themselves without causing disturbances attain peace, nor he who hankers after such enjoyment. So we can understand that all the rivers merge into what? To the same ocean. Like that, all these rivers of our mind, when merging into that one consciousness, there is no more disturbance. Even when there is so many rivers going to the ocean, there is no change in the ocean. Vihaya kamanya sarvan pumam sharati nispraha nirmamo nirahankara sa shanti madhigachati. He who has given up all desire and moves free from attachment, egoism, thirst for enjoyment, attains peace. So we can understand that that person who gives up all the desires and who moves free from attachment, egoism and thirst for enjoyment attains peace. Esha brahmi sthiti partha nainam prapya vimuhyati sthitasvasyanta kalepi brahma nirvana mruchati. Arjuna, such is the state of God realized soul. Having reached this state, he overcomes delusion and established in this state, even at that last moment, he attains Brahmic bliss. O Arjuna, Krishna is saying, such is the state of the God realized soul that when he has attained to that state, there is no more delusion to that person. And when one is established in that state, even at the last moment, he attains Brahmic bliss. So therefore it is said, many of these yogis are always chanting the divine name because they are at the last moment connecting with that bliss alone. So let that bliss become part of each one of us. So we are completing the second chapter. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Sambade Sankhya Yogo Nama Dvitiyodhyayah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much.